Well, welcome back. Today we're looking at the last resolve that we see Daniel making in the book of Daniel. We've been talking about how Daniel was this favored, brilliant, wise, gifted man who found himself in the captivity and trial of the Babylonian kingdom under King Nebuchadnezzar. And what we can learn is how Daniel made these resolves. He resolved out of the faithfulness of God, and because of that, he was living with hope, even in a time of trial and captivity. So important for us because the world, you and I, are living in such a time of trial, really such a time of captivity. It's different from Daniel's, but also it's the same in so many ways. And we've talked about several specific resolves that we see Daniel making. We talked about his resolve to live undefiled. We talked about his resolve to be humble. We talked about his resolve to live courageously. And today, the last one, we are looking at Daniel's resolve to live passionately for God. Daniel was resolved to live passionately for God. And you and I were created to live with that resolve. We're not just passionate for God when things are going the way that we want. We're not just passionate for God when it's convenient. We're not just passionate for God because it's legal. We're passionate for God because God is who He says He is. And we were created to live with passion for Him. And so it's so inspiring to see Daniel in this captivity. Even specifically, a decree had gone out in Daniel chapter 6. A decree had gone out that no one was to pray or worship any other gods. And Daniel, we read this verse in chapter 6, when this decree goes out, it says Daniel knew the document had been signed. He knew it was now illegal to pray, to worship his God. He knew it was illegal. And it says he went to his house where the windows were open in his upper chamber, and he got down on his knees 3 times a day, and he prayed and he gave thanks before his God as he had done previously. Again, we see this man, so gifted, so brilliant, so wise, in the midst of this trial, when everything was set against him to pursue the Lord God. And his response was to live with resolve. His response was to be passionate for God no matter what. He went back to his room that had visible windows that were open, and he was passionate for God. He prayed to God. He thanked God. He worshiped the Lord no matter what was happening around him. He had this resolve to be passionate. And we see this key here in the last part of the verse. Daniel was resolved to pursue God as he had done previously. It wasn't the trial or the circumstance that led him to be passionate for God. Daniel was resolved to be passionate for God all of his life. And so in times of favor, in times of just joy and blessing, he was passionate for God. And in times of trial and persecution and pushback, even when it was illegal, Daniel was passionate for God. Daniel lived with a resolve in his heart to be passionate for God, no matter what was going on around him, no matter who was watching or wasn't watching. It was a secret resolve between him and God that guided the course of his life. And because he lived with this passion for God, he saw God's faithfulness and he was filled with hope. You and I, wherever you are today, however you and I are being affected by what's around us, nobody can take away your secret life with God. Nobody can take away a resolve that you have to be passionate for God. If we as his people in this hour will set ourselves to continue pursuing him, to live undefiled, to live humbly, to live courageously, and to keep pursuing the Lord, you know what will happen? We will experience his faithfulness. And the hope that we have will be spilled out everywhere that we go. The hope that we have will be desirable. And in fact, the hope that we have will be contagious to the people around us. We're called to be a people of hope because God is faithful. So let's resolve in these days. Love you all. I'm with you.